What's going on? Welcome into Clips and Dip, your favorite Clippers podcast. I'm William Updike, joined as always by the trio, the triumphant trio, Adam Oslin and Charles Mockler. Look, today there's some actual developments on the Harden stuff. I've heard that there was a bit of there was a no mention of Harden on this podcast. Apparently it's coming back because there are some developments that we have to talk about. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Clippers' home preseason debut. We also asked for a couple of questions out there on Twitter, so we're going to get into those. And then we have a Charles Mockler special rounding out this episode today that I'm actually very excited about. I don't know how the fans out there feel, but the Clippers have decided to go ahead and recycle last year's marketing slogan, "Give no quarters." Didn't make any sense then, makes even less sense now. But we're going to talk about it. So let's lead with this Harden stuff. Charles, why don't you kick it off? How's everybody doing? Sorry, I'm getting right into this.
You're hyped up. I'm doing great.
Adam, what's going on with the hat? What's the hat?
What's wrong with the hat? It's a trucker hat. You guys don't like it?
I like it. I'm just asking what it is.
Okay, so if you're a real nerd, you may recognize this particular insignia belonging to somebody who controls
Is this
a
a
giant
Power Rangers
robotic dragon with a flute dagger. Yeah, it's the Green Ranger. You got it.
Oh,
Chuck.
really? Yeah.
It's for the Green Ranger.
Let's go.
Nice. Okay.
Also, real quick, if you're just listening to us and you'd like to see what we're talking about, it's a good hat from Adam. It's just, we're always thrown off by Adam's hats. You can check us out over on youtube.com/@Clippers podcast. You can see Adam's hat. You can weigh in on this.
Say you like my hat.
Yes. I love the hat.
You didn't say that off air, Will.
So Charles, take us in with this. Take us into this. Take us into this Harden stuff. What's the latest? And where do these reports come from?
This is a great report from Sam Amick, which is important to remember. There's Amico and there's Amick, and you believe Amick. Excuse me. You believe Amick. That's usually what the saying is on Twitter. The report basically boils down to the Sixers are now willing to accept an offer of one unprotected first-round pick, a swap, Terrence Mann, and matching salaries for James Harden. Previously, as most people, if you're listening to this podcast in the offseason, but for those who don't know, they wanted 2 first-round picks, but that has changed because Daryl Morey supposedly has a trade lined up that he likes better than having 2 of the Clippers first-round picks with another team for Terrence Mann. So Terrence Mann is worth the first-round pick from some team that might have a more valuable...
we have no idea about the protections that would be on
exactly.
that pick.
Yes, but he thinks it would be better than the Clippers, which is very weird. Hey,
first off, I want to say thank you, Maury, for thinking that the Clippers are going to be good that far out. All right?
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Real recognize real, and I'm very excited about that.
Adam, what are you feeling when you saw this stuff? Do you think the Clippers should go for it? Do you think this is what it takes?
It depends on how much they value Terrence Mann. If he's only going to play 23 minutes a game, then maybe they should make the move for James Harden and bring in more high-end talent. If they see the potential, and we talked about it a little bit last night, Chuck, but just Terrence Mann getting to his spots on the floor, all 4 of his makes were little fadeaway step backs.
Yep.
This is somebody who's been willing to do whatever the team asks of him, guard multiple positions, kind of initiate the offense sometimes. We all know about the 10 games right before the All-Star break, or the 14 games where they went 10-4, something like that, right before the All-Star break.
Lighting the world on fire. Barely.
Their best stretch of basketball.
Terrence Mann has been an extremely valuable, versatile member of this Clippers team. But if he's only going to get 23 minutes a night and he's going to get squeezed on minutes because they don't see him as being a guard out there, or as being a small forward out there, or as being a fifth, another option at the 5, I don't know. I think you have to think about it if that's the case. But it seems like, according to the report from Sam Amick, that they're unwilling to give up Terrence Mann in a deal for James Harden. And to be fair, it still looks like they'd be bidding against themselves. No one else has been reportedly interested in James Harden. So That's always a bad negotiating tactic when it's just you driving up your own price. That doesn't work. So play hardball because the Clippers are going to get off to a quick start this season. I don't think they're going to be in dire straits or in desperate need of bringing in James Harden to start off the season. It could be the other way around where James refuses to show up, and it looks like that's happening now at practice, but to play in regular season games. And he just keeps eating the fine and making it worse and worse and more of an untenable situation for the Philadelphia 76ers where they just say, you know what, we got to get rid of this guy. We'll take what we can get because he's being a malcontent with us and is true to his word that he is unwilling to play for Daryl Morey.
So I think there's a bit of a thing that can happen sometimes with the fan base and how much we value Terrence versus, like the actual value around the league. And some of that is tied up in how he's used, the minutes that he plays, everything like that. I'm not opposed to like moving Terrence for the right move. I agree with Adam that like it depends. Like, who are we bidding against? Are we just bidding against ourselves with Daryl Morey? Because if so, like, if we weren't comfortable to give that up, then I don't see why cave now if it's an absolute like thing of need. And my other thing would be they got to take on some money, man. Like they got to take on Morris. They got to take on on
Morris
Batum.
will be gone. I have to imagine. Yeah,
they gotta help us consolidate this power forward position, and I don't know. I don't know if I love a swap and Terrence for. It makes sense if Charles and I were talking about this last night. Adam, I believe this is the first full training camp that Kawhi and PG have ever been healthy for. So I see the want to go all in on this 1 year because this is your last shot. I guess the question is just with your top 3 talent, like all expiring the same year, no Terrence, no picks. I'm just very confused at like if it doesn't go all in, like, and that is a calculus, right? Like, is James Harden with the Clippers, no Terrence Mann, good enough to beat the Nuggets? Like that has to be part of your calculus. Like if that's not good enough, then I don't think it's worth it to go all in, even if that means, getting bounced in the first or second round of the playoffs this year.
And the truth is, we don't know yet in a 7-game series what could happen with James Harden on the Clippers against the Denver Nuggets. But the point is, does it get them closer? Do you think it makes them a better team overall to have James Harden in there? And to lose someone like Terrence Mann, to lose Marcus Morris, maybe they have to lose Rocco or Batum in this move too to make the numbers work. I think when you're talking about guys playing on the court right now with James Harden, assuming he's playing 35 minutes a game, he does make the team better, especially in the regular season. In the postseason, obviously, he has had his limitations and he has had his poor performances. He'd also be the number 3 option at best on a healthy Clippers team, a role he really hasn't played since going back to the OKC Thunder days when they made the NBA Finals back in 2012. And by the way, he was instrumental in getting them there. I know he had a stinker of a finals afterwards.
And it was 11 years ago.
What happened against the San Antonio Spurs. I think they were down 0 to the Thunder, and they won 4 straight, and it was James Harden taking over those games. So I still am a believer in him in those moments with a reduced role next to Kawhi, Paul George, Russell Westbrook. I just don't know how the Clippers view Terrence Mann, and that's where the apprehension comes in. How highly do they think of him? Can he be somebody that is a consistent star in his role? Because that's what he could be, I think. He can be a star role player on a championship team. That's, I think, Terrence Mann's ceiling because he fills so many of the cracks and the crevices and finds ways to contribute and is always a plus out there. So if that's how they see him, and that means you have to get him out there on the court and play in big moments like he did throughout the 2021 playoffs. I don't know what's happened since then, why they lost faith in him because he was closing out games. But for whatever reason, he's been a little bit devalued at times on this Clippers team.
And now he's apparently worth more than Harden or something like that. I like your take about, Harden being the third option. There's a very funny tweet from a guy on Twitter named Paul Headley talks about the NBA. He said Harden's playoff shooting woes won't really matter for the Clippers. If Kawhi and PG are healthy, his role is to facilitate and shoot when he's open. If they're not healthy, have all the 1 for 14 nights you want, my man. Ain't doing shit in that scenario anyway. Which it's a pretty blunt but fairly accurate take, right? Like if we're fully healthy with James Harden, I think we're better, we're closer at getting to the chip. It doesn't make us some kind of lock, obviously, but yeah, I don't know.
Is it wrong though to have some apprehension about this? This is 1 year to me.
No, I think that's totally fair.
Like if we do this trade, like we will be giving up a first and a swap and Terrence Mann for 1 year. We cannot re-sign all 3 of these guys unless everybody is willing to take a pay cut. And you're telling me that all 3 of these guys are going to be willing to take a pay cut, or we're just going to be in total cap second apron hell where we can't trade anything and we can't get any exceptions and we can't do anything to build out the roster with this all 3 stars over 30. Like, I don't know, man.
What about
that's
this?
Scary to me.
Because the 76ers might suck too, though. What if Joel leaves? What if they don't get it done and he leaves and then their team, like, it's not like
he's going to come back to be on the team with James Harden because it worked so well the first time?
No, I'm not telling him to come to the Clippers. That's not
gotcha.
what I'm saying at all. I mean, that would be great. Yeah, let's do it. But no, what if Joel's like, oh, this isn't working here. I would like to leave to go to somewhere else. I know he just signed a big contract, but like, it's not like a guarantee that the Sixers are going to be not, suffering from injuries and not as good as they should be. Like, we're talking about 2 franchises that have pretty kind of looked in the mirror a little bit when it comes to some health and success correlations there. So I don't know. Something to think about.
And going back to what Will was talking about, with all these contracts coming up at once, and if the Clippers can retain all these guys, so is it worth it? Because Mann is under contract for 2 more seasons. It's all worth it if you win a championship. It's a moot point then. Do we know? No, there's no guarantees. Nobody said going into last season for sure the Denver Nuggets are going to win the ring. They weren't even favorites. The Clippers were. So I think it's worth exploring bringing in James Harden, even if it takes Terrence Mann.
So you're saying do it is what it sounds like. Because I don't think
if they don't value Terrence Mann and he's going to be playing 20 minutes a game.
Do we think they do, though? Because, also, question that I think this ties into. Do you believe that Terrence has a legit starting, shot at actually starting power forward for the Clippers? I think he does. I think it's a shortened stint. I don't think, he's playing a bunch of minutes to start. It's almost like maybe a Gortat start for the people who remember when Marcin would play 6 or 7 minutes and just kind of be done for a long period of time. But so if he's going to maybe be the starter, it would be nice to lock that down, maybe before the season starts, if he's the actual starter. But the Clippers could be saying that to maybe drive the value up. It just feels kind of messy with Terrence at the 4 spot right now. I would love for him to start. You've talked about it too, but it's not going to be consistent, it seems.
Last night, Coach Lou was asked by Law Murray, are the 3 guys who have been given opportunities with the starters during the 3 preseason games the ones who are in contention for that 5th starting spot?
Mm-hmm.
And he hesitated a little bit and said not necessarily, but he emphasized how well all 3 of them had played. It seems like one of those 3 is going to be the guy. So yeah, Terrence is in the mix.
We were also told that it might be some sort of 4 by committee, which I just don't really think is happening either.
I could see something where there's a rotating 5th guy in there depending on matchups, because Coach Lou also stressed that, if we got Kawhi and Paul George out there, I'm not that worried about the continuity of the 5th starter. As long as those 2 are playing, we're going to be in good shape. And therefore, you just kind of game plan of who matches up best. And maybe it's Terrence one night, maybe it's Rocco another night, maybe it's Nicolas Batum one night. I don't think that would be that crazy. It would just upend all the continuity they have because one guy,
those mountains of continuity,
is rotating at a position with the starting 5. As long as Kawhi, Paul George are there, Ivica Zubac, Russell Westbrook consistently, I think you're okay. And these guys have been together for a little bit now, especially Terrence Mann and Nicolas Batum. There isn't much of a learning curve getting used to a new guy in the starting lineup. I think they'd be pretty comfortable next to one another.
All right. So if the Clippers value Terrence enough to even consider starting him, I don't think they're making this trade.
Yeah.
Because
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, right. Like, because if he's only, even if he's only going to play the same amount of minutes per game as he did last season, starting in that is a lot different than coming off the bench for that.
Him starting is the path to getting around 30 minutes a night. I think it has to begin with him being in the starting five, because therefore he gets that first stint and he gets one more stint in the first half. Same thing in the second half.
And if he gets hot in the first stint, Ty will just keep playing him. Ty is a hot hand guy. All right. So final tally. If this is the offer, if this is indeed the offer, if you're the Clippers, are you acquiescing to this negotiating? The 76ers already have taken down their first offer to this offer. Will, yes or no? You're on the phone in the Clippers GM office. Feet kicked up on the desk. The chillest dub mix playing.
If they're taking Morris and if we keep Rocco and they're taking Morris and like getting some other contract money out of there, I mean, I guess let's go for it.
Adam, yes or no? You're in the office, different vibe office, obviously. Than
because
the
of my hat?
Would be in. No, I didn't say that. You're projecting. Maybe now. You're in a layer, I guess.
I'm going to go with a hard maybe. I'm going to go with a hard
maybe. You have to say yes or no, Adam.
It is dependent on how they view Terrence Mann. It goes back to where I started this.
We're saying you're the GM.
You're the GM. You know how you value.
You're running the Clips. How do you value Terrence Mann?
Depends on the front office's relationship with the coaching staff and how that's going to work out. I don't want to trade Terrence Mann. How about that?
I agree. No. I don't either.
No, we got the answer.
Will does.
We got the answer. I'm going no. Firm no. And I'm starting Terrence and he's getting 30 minutes. And then I'm fired probably a couple months later. That was a good time. We know that Adam maybe wouldn't be the most committal GM.
Well, there's a lot of things to sort through, a lot of strands.
A lot of what have yous and whatnot.
You know the Lebowski reference. There we go.
Sure. All right, coming up, we're talking actual basketball. We're going to talk the Clippers' home preseason debut. We got some mailbag questions. Got some great names in the mailbag questions, too. We do have to pay the bills, so there's some ads coming up. Will has changed his name. If you'd love to see what our names are, check it out over on YouTube, youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Ads coming up. They've been a little loud for some people, so go ahead and turn it down if that's been the case for you. Ads in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Clips and Dip, episode 14, season 2. As everyone knows who listens to this podcast, the season ends the night of the next NBA draft. Adam and I figured this out through a bunch of math and stuff like that. The Clippers debuted. They were at Crypto.com Arena downtown. They won against some of the Nuggets. Adam, you looked sharp. You were wearing a pinstripe suit, calling the game like a professional.
I was not wearing this hat last night.
You're worried about the hat.
Well, people think it's a weed.
Space weed. It looks like space weed. What did we like?
Dragon Zords.
What did we like from this game? I mean, PG obviously lit it up. Russ's passing was good. Didn't take a bunch of shots. Like, there was some good stuff to take away. Some encouraging things to take away from this game.
I mean, it starts with Paul George, right? 23 points in the first half. And I think those 23 points came within about a 10-minute stretch of him on the floor because he didn't score in the first 6 minutes he was out there. So there was a timeout, and I thought the Clippers came out a little bit sluggish, a little bit lackadaisical.
Oh, absolutely they did.
They needed to lock in. That was easily their slowest start, I think, of the preseason, where it looked like they were having some slippage on the defensive end,
preseason,
as Coach Lou would put it.
Yeah.
They've been so good on that end to start off the first 2 games consistently for the first 48 minutes. And right away, something was off. I don't know if they were taking the Denver Nuggets lightly because no Nikola Jokic, no Jamal
Whole
Murray, no
starting
Michael
5.
Porter Jr., no Aaron Gordon. Yeah, it was a completely different team. It was some guys who will likely be in the G League for the Denver Nuggets this season.
Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan.
Reggie Jackson balled, by the way. He came out and targeted Kawhi and Paul George specifically. Those 2 friends were going back and forth, but Reggie was taking it to him at first. There was a point, though, in the second quarter as Paul George started to heat up where Kawhi, and I made note of this at Follow Adam A on Twitter on X.
Wait,
absolutely. What?
Are you about to do what I think you're going to do?
I don't know. I got this hat on. Who knows what I might do?
All right. Let it rip. Let it rip.
What do you think I'm going to do? All right, I'll let it rip. I don't think I'm going to do what you think I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is point out one little sequence on the defensive end for about 5 seconds where Kawhi said, "Enough, Reggie. I'm shutting the water off." And he looked like 2016 Defensive Player of the Year award winner Kawhi Leonard. I forget which year he won it. But his foot speed was unreal. And I watched him also pregame, just going through his workouts.
Did you say 5
as
seconds?
opposed to what I saw last year? It was about 5 seconds before somebody set a screen and got Kawhi off Reggie Jackson.
Okay.
But he locked in, saw some Clamp City there for a second. But most importantly, his movement was different. I don't care. I don't know if I saw defense like that all of last season. And Kawhi has talked about one of the reasons that guys seem to be in great spirits, maybe because he looks better in training camp. His agility's back. He's 100%. He feels good. And I was watching him go through his routine pregame, and even that was at a faster speed than what it was last season pregame. I always love watching Kawhi and seeing where he's at physically.
Right.
Because obviously the Clippers championship aspirations are completely dependent on it. But he looks noticeably leaner because this was the first time I saw him in person. Well, I saw him in person, at media day, but a little bit different out there on the court.
Yeah.
Kawhi has lost like 10 pounds compared to where he was
He's
last
moving
season.
a little quicker. Yeah.
It's noticeable. The lateral movement, and in that sequence against one-on-one Reggie Jackson, I wish I could have pulled the video. I tried to get on ESPN2 where the game was replaying.
They didn't have that highlight?
It was too short. It was too short.
It's for real basketball minds and, the guys who understand the game at a molecular level. Those would appreciate that level of defense from Kawhi Leonard. I'm just saying this.
No, I agree with what
Kawhi
you're
has been
saying.
able to do at his peak athletically, he is still able to do, I think.
Agreed.
And that's a big deal.
I would agree with that 100%.
I think in the playoffs, I don't think in the regular season he'll pick his spots.
Yeah, you just need 4 series. He's got 16 games at DPOY level. I think it's still there.
So that's the thing. Yeah, even if he doesn't have 16, let's just say he has 8. Let's say we can have. That's still very good because the other parts of it will also come together. So Kawhi, hurled the ball again down the court after the whistle, which is something that's happened multiple times this preseason. It's very odd. He didn't do that very much during the regular season. He'll just huck the ball down the court. Anyway, Paul George was great. Kawhi looked good. Zubats got a lot of early touches, a lot of run because he missed that game in Seattle, or most of the game in Seattle. Him and Russ have a nice little thing going.
The chemistry is definitely building. The chemistry is definitely building. Yeah. And we've seen in the preseason when he's available, them going to Zoo a little bit more, which was one of those things we'd see in spurts and fits last season. It's one of those things that just keeps Zoo engaged. I think I heard you, Charles, yesterday on the radio say at this point, Zoo's hands are what they are.
Yes.
which is also very true. And there were some times where DeAndre Jordan, of all people, was kind of giving Zoo the business, but
he was playing hard against Zoo, though. He was playing hard against Zoo.
It's preseason. Yeah.
Zoo with those 3 blocks, and I think he had 2 on one play. his activity level, I'm hoping, because they have Mason Plumlee now, because they have a better plan going into this season. We saw how Zubats was defensively to start off last year. He was holding things together for them when for about 2 weeks they were a top 5 defense. That was all Big Zoo to me, and just being that anchor in that backline defense, because guys were getting through on the perimeter. The point of attack defense wasn't very good. It was Ivica Zubats, but it wore him out. They didn't have a Mason Plumlee to relieve him. So I'm hoping he can sustain that. And he was asked about this by Andrew Greif post game throughout the entire regular season this time. Zoo also pointed out, well, he got hurt later on in the year, and that also had an effect. It wasn't just tired legs, but a fresh Ivica Zubats. Remember, we were saying some wild stuff early on in the season. Can Zoo make first team defense? Can he be in the defensive player of the year
31 game last year? He was great.
No, I'm just he really shined on the defensive end. He gets back to that. That goes a long way with where the Clippers want to get defensively. Just having Big Zoo at that level, and then a mindset from everybody else to say we want to be a top 5 defense this year.
It looked like he was still going a little low on screens. This isn't a critique. It's just something I noticed. Because remember, Ty talked about, Zoo being higher on screens and stuff like that. I wonder if that was just a game adjustment thing from Ty, or, he's maybe still getting used to it. Not a knock, just something I kind of noticed way, way up in the press box.
It's not a rule. I mean, I think it just depends. It just depends on the coverage.
It's a rule, dude. He'll make you run if you don't do it. We know what Ty. Dude, Ty's making these guys sprint.
Russell Westbrook, by the way, looking for Zoo and some of the other guys too.
Found Batum in the corner with a great pass. Like that was like. Speaking of 5 seconds, that is my Adams 5 seconds. I think Zoo got the board or handed it to Russ, or Russ got the board, immediately took it down court. Batum was trailing. Russ draws 3 defenders, gets to the paint, finds Batum in the corner. Nylon, as Carlo would say on AM 570. That was great to see, because that's the process that they've been working on. And they were horrible on the fast break last season. So even a nice fast break possession or two in the preseason has me hyped up.
Russ also had a great transition bucket, and much has been made of him shooting just 50% at the rim. That's extremely low in this league, much lower than it used to be for him, but that's where he's been at the last couple of seasons. I'm still wondering if that can change. And I know it's one thing to ask him to all of a sudden to become a league average 3-point shooter consistently for 82 games, something he's never really been outside of maybe 1 year, one of his MVP seasons. But is he 2 MVPs or 1? He got it the first time around averaging the triple double, so just 1. Yeah. But
triple double fatigue was the hot term.
I don't see why, unless it's just because obviously he can still get up, but has his rim attack percentage and efficiency there been down because he doesn't throw it down as much? Or is he
you want him to start yamming on people is what it sounds like.
Well, if it's because he's blowing layups because he's going so fast. Last night,
that's actually a good call.
He actually was a blur. I think it was the second quarter, and he got the layup to go. And it was like a 1-on-3 situation or something. It was Russ versus everyone.
Right.
And it was very smooth, very fluid. And the coordination was there, even though he was going Tasmanian Devil style. And I enjoyed seeing it. I'm just wondering, can he get that up, that percentage back to where it used to be?
That would be very helpful, I think, personally. I do like what you said about, the jumping is funny because he's not as crazy as Bones is when he drives the lane. Bones, when he goes into the lane, none of us have any idea what's happening when he tries to shoot the ball at the rim. I don't think Bones does either.
I was going to say, does he?
What did we think of Nico starting at the 4? Because obviously Ty's been doing this thing. They're rotating. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed. I was whelmed, as the movie says.
I just don't think that's going to be the move. And I don't really see it's why I don't really see like the 4 completely by committee. I think there might be 1 or 2 guys who maybe kind of cycle in and out. I've talked about Nico as a starter. I think that it's best to just kind of preserve him for later in the season, get the best out of him. It just doesn't really make sense to me at this stage of his career.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What Will said there about preserving him, he's the last guy I'm worried about when it comes to staying in rhythm. or staying in
for
shape,
sure.
in game shape. I think if they were only playing him 15 minutes a night the first couple of months of the season, and all of a sudden ramp that up to 25 or 30 minutes a night the last month of the year, I don't think Nicolas Batum would have a problem with that. Like, I think he would adjust and be just fine. So if he's the odd man out to start off the season, some people have speculated that because he's not somebody that's going to ruffle any feathers. He's okay with whatever role he has to play out there, even if he gets DNPs, because they have a glut of forwards and we don't know who's going to be playing there. I don't think that's a problem. I think Nicolas Batum is the perfect guy to take a back seat for a little while and then bring him out later on, hopefully with fresher legs, because he plays in France every summer. We know this, and this could be his last season. But I would love it if he was almost like the secret weapon, like, oh, they still have Nicolas Batum by the end of the season. Teams are realizing that.
Getting eased in.
Yeah, I could see him. I could see him closing for sure. Like, that's something I'd be very open to. I also just kind of like the idea of his passing on the second unit.
He's a connector. He's a great connector.
He just kind of threads those things together, and I think that was my one knock or negative on the preseason is like, I got a lot of questions about that second unit and how that's. How that's really going to look against an actual NBA defense. And I love the idea. Like, I love the idea of KJ and Bones and Terrence and Batum out there for
Norm.
And Norm. There's so many pieces you can kind of bring in and out.
Yeah.
But so far to look at it, I don't feel super confident that squad is really treading water for you.
Can I talk about one more thing that I like before we get into maybe the questionable stuff?
Nope. Sorry, we've already moved on.
Damn it. We talked about it a little bit before, but Terrence Mann, great game, very efficient, the pull-up jumpers. Kobe Brown, hell of a game from the young man over here. He had 7 points. What was that? 3 blocks, a couple of boards, a couple of assists. Not a bad showing for Kobe Brown.
My favorite play from him was he got lost in the sauce on the defensive end against Key, where he was just out of position, missed his assignment, was trying to play catch up. Key gets an easy bucket. Next possession down the floor, Kobe Brown goes right at him and scores, just showing a little bit of that competitiveness. He wanted to get it back immediately. That was cool, along with that block he had with 2 hands up. That was good to see from him. I like him. I don't know if it was hell of a game, but if the Kobe Brown noser over here says it is.
Winning basketball, hell of a game. All right, let's get into some questions that we have. Will, you bring up the bench thing. That's what I put in kind of what we didn't like in some of these show notes. Like, if Norm or Bones are starting off cold, that bench unit has kind of a lot to figure out pretty quickly.
And Norm can't really pass. So, like, if he doesn't have it going, like, how is the
Bones' passing has been good, which is nice. That's been good at least. Yeah.
Like, that's another reason why I like Batum out there. Like, you got to have some more. You got to have some more options.
So far, Norman Powell in the 2 games he's played in the preseason is 2 for 14. And
but what's the percentage?
Well, that's it's bad. It's not good. He has been on the floor. I swear, I saw him hit the deck like 6 different times last night.
Yeah,
like he doesn't look to be timing wise there yet. And he notorious for getting off to slow starts. We saw it last season, but last year it was the explanation for it was he was trying too hard. He wanted to be a starter. He wants to be an all-star. He's putting so much pressure on himself. Yeah. And it worked against him. Instead of just being who he's been, play his role. Eventually he got there. But I don't think they can afford to have Norman Powell get off to a slow start. The schedule, it's soft at the beginning. It's favorable, but you still would like to see him figure that out coming into this season. Sure. And last night, it was just a wonky game from him. He was getting into it with the officials. Like, there was just no rhythm at all to what we saw from Norman Powell.
And just stay healthy. Good Lord. Just stay healthy, Norman.
Yeah, he's had some bad luck with that, which has been bad. But yeah, if they're cold, the second unit is a little interesting because You have whoever's not the starting power forward, maybe that night, going to be on that second unit. You have Bones. You got to fit KJ Martin in. You have Plumlee probably going to be out there. We saw KJ Martin at the 5 a lot against the Nuggets. Plumlee didn't play also, for those if you're wondering. So I think that played a part in it. But
yeah, I think it was more by necessity than
I thought KJ was okay. I mean, he's going to crash the boards, which I love to see. You really see the difference in how KJ crashes the boards compared to some of the older guys on the team. So that's nice to see.
I thought he really struggled in the first half. He airballed that 3-pointer.
So
he had
bad.
an offensive rebound, which was good to see, as you mentioned, crashing the boards, but then he lost the ball. And then in the second quarter, they tried to get it to him in transition, and he couldn't hold on to the basketball. But then in the third, he had a really good defensive play, a contested shot, and then on the other end, they rewarded him. He got into transition and looked like he was moving with a little bit more purpose, a little bit more aggression out there, saying, okay, I know I didn't have a great first half.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure this out, right the ship. And I thought he was better after that. But so far, we really don't know what role he's going to be playing. And maybe that is playing into his indecisiveness out there because Coach Lue he spoke to that multiple times now, that it's not fair to KJ Martin because he's having him play multiple positions and he's overthinking right now.
Not everyone can handle it. Not everyone can handle it like Terrence Mann, right? Yeah. Like this is kind of their Terrence Mann thing. But yeah, the second unit, probably, I guess, my biggest concern maybe heading into the regular season. We just got a lot to figure out. I'm not like this unit's going to suck. There's a lot to figure out.
Why isn't health your biggest?
Oh my God. Yeah, of course. And health.
Who do you guys think of the 3 candidates we believe are in the mix to get that 5th starting spot with Mann, with Rocco, and Batum? Who do you think fits best in the second unit? Because that could play in the decision a little bit.
So we got a question about that from Militant Mind 4. He said, what are your thoughts on Ty saying Rocco, Mann, and Nico do all the same thing at the 4? I like, depending what maybe his legs look like in the 4th preseason game, how much minutes he gets, I like Rocco out there with the young guys because Rocco's a disruptor who causes turnovers. And you thrive if you can convert and transition off turnovers, which is usually what happens when there's a turnover, you're going to do pretty well. And that's something the Clippers are focused on. Batum does a similar thing for sure. But I think Rocco probably has maybe some motivation to say, I am still very good at basketball and doing what I'm supposed to do because of how weird last year was. So I think I'd vote Rocco. If the legs look good.
You want Rocco to be the starter or on the bench?
On the bench.
I get what you're saying, though.
So who do you want to be the starter?
Oh, Terrence. Let's do Terrence.
Okay.
A little more youth out there. Not a bunch. We know he's 27, but younger than our other guys. I didn't look. That's a hypothetical. I'm in my office. I'm in my underwater office in that scenario.
I like that thought process, though. Get him in transition, and that's because of Rocco getting turnovers. And he had one in the 4th quarter, I think it was last night.
He'll get up there.
Yeah, he can finish on the other end. He just can't create for himself. He doesn't have the handle.
But so many guys on that second unit do, right?
Yeah. You could kind of insulate those weaknesses and not have to worry about it too much. I mean, all 3 of them work well with the second unit. I like Batum also, just the veteran presence and getting guys to their spots. I feel like he can be one of the leaders with the defensive unit with the young guys, just making sure they're handling their assignments and where they're supposed to be with the second unit. But all those guys can kind of fit in. They're all pretty versatile, whether they're starting or coming off the bench. Will, what do you think out of those 3? Who would be the best with the bench unit?
I like Batum with the bench. I think
he's a man.
That makes sense. He makes a lot of stuff. He just is the glue that makes a lot of stuff stick together. And I feel like, I don't know, I like the idea of Robert Covington, I guess, in the starting unit. But I mean, we've seen some stuff that's less than encouraging.
Yeah, he had a great debut though. That first game where he started, he crushed.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe I don't know. I guess I kind of like the idea of Rocco starting.
Doesn't seem like you do.
Some trepidation.
Yeah.
I like the idea, but with the caveat that like he's probably, in my mind, he's one of the first subs if it's not going well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
And then Man comes in, you get a little bit of a different look there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would like, but yeah, if Man isn't in the starting lineup, I would like him to be the
Sub one.
Yeah, like I would like him to kind of be the sixth man.
I also am
not
big
mad
on
at that.
Rocco starting because I think it can just disrupt an offense to the point that it could throw them out of rhythm to start off a ball game. And sometimes that, bleeds into the next quarter, or a team just getting off to a slow start or feeling like, okay, it's not going to be our night. These guys are everywhere. They have all this length. They're actually using Wingstop. Offensively, maybe they take a slight step back with Rocco starting as opposed to Terrence Mann.
But he's the fifth option, right? On that lineup offensively.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's less of a threat there for someone creating their own shot. Terrence Mann, I think, can really do that. But I still think, okay, what do you need tonight? Do you need someone to slow down the point of attack? Are you going up against John Morant? Then maybe I want Terrence Mann. If you're going up against the Phoenix Suns, then maybe I want Rocco, to go after KD or to go after Booker a little bit, or Beal. I think it could be matchup dependent whether or not Rocco or Terrence Mann is in the starting lineup.
It's an interesting call.
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
We have one more thing that I'm going to go on the record and say I was not a fan of, maybe because of the surprise, but the Chick Hearn media room has been remodeled in Crypto Camarena. And I'll tell you what, it's different. It's different. There's also a cage.
It's a non-committal. It's different.
It's shitty. How is that committal?
Okay.
It's half the size. Anyway, someone also pointed out all the TVs, the buffet was underneath where all the TVs were. So this guy was like, so everyone who's watching TV is also watching you load your plate up in the buffet line, which you don't ever like to do that. It's a fair criticism.
I didn't go down there yet. I try to stay away from there because I'll end up, going to the yogurt machine or grabbing.
So that's still there. Ice cream's still there.
Uncrustables. I don't need that in my life. There's a lot of good stuff down there. The nachos, the hot dogs. I tried to
most of those things you mentioned yesterday.
Chose Chuck.
Oh wow!
I'm kidding.
Body shaming on the pod now. This guy. All right, we got a couple mailbag questions. One's going to be very quick to answer. One's going to be a little longer, I think. Optimus Prime Rib asked us, strange how everyone pegged last year's team as a title contender, but not this year despite it being a better roster. I would also add health in there. Did we initially overrate last year's team? Or is it still a contender on paper, but we worry about health and coaching malpractice again?
So I think last year is last year's just kind of really interesting because we were just thinking about like what could be or what was, but that's all you can do, right? Like when you haven't seen a team together at full strength in more than a season, you can only assume that, you'd be similar you'd be capable of achieving like sort of similar ends. And, I think we were all really high on the depth. I think we all kind of, collectively thought if healthy like that, this is the team. Like this is one of the better sort of assemblies of talent that we've had. And I think there's a couple things at play that's changed our minds with that, and that is how old the team is. Things
right. It's another year.
things change very fast. Like 2 years when your team is like 26 is a lot different than 2 years when your team is 32. It's a lot different, and so I don't think that it was like I still don't know that it was wrong to overrate them. And I don't even know that it was overrated because who knows? And that so far is the thing, like with the Clippers, right? Other than the bubble season is like, who knows? Like who knows what could have happened if it was all together.
I think they're still a contender. Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just going to say, I do think they probably weren't as optimized as we would have liked to have seen guys being used last season.
Sure.
But the roster, I think, was more flawed than we thought going into the year. Going into the season, I think we were all on board. Like, this is the roster. They have the guys. They have these guards, and each of them have unique abilities, and they can figure it out. That never happened. They were trying to figure out with all of them on the court at once. Not leaning into Terrence Mann as much, not leaning into Rocco at all really hurt that team. It was just a difficult year, and it was on all levels.
Ty Lue
Players,
had a crazy
front
year
office,
too off the
coaching
court.
staff.
Yeah.
Ty Lue, with 7 deaths in his family or whatever it was, just unbelievable tragedies going on. And he's talked about it. He talked about it media day. He's talked about it in training camp. Kind of apologized to Rocco for not using him as much, basically. And last night, he said something interesting. They were talking to him about, you like to have set lineups and you like to see how something goes for 10 to 15 games. And he said, well, I don't know if he said changed, but he definitely said I've evolved. He said it twice last night in the post-game presser. So as a young coach, you would expect some of that. It doesn't always happen, but he is making that statement and making it vocal that he could be a different coach. And what we thought Coach Lue was, or if we thought we had a beat on the type of coach he is, that could change the way he goes about things.
I hope so. That would be great if it changed for the better. I don't really see how it could get worse. I don't mean that in a mean way. I just don't think I think Ty Lue maybe had his hardest year, as Will, you pointed out last year too, that it was probably going to be Ty Lue's hardest year of coaching. And I think
that was a great call.
You were correct about that. That's totally fair too. I think it's obviously the worry about health is there, which I think is the heaviest part of this question. That's the heaviest.
That's all 30 teams though.
No, I agree with that. But that's what's if you put that in the question, it's everyone's concerned about health. So that supersedes kind of everyone's paranoia about the title with another year on the legs and everything like that. So, I mean, I don't know. We're still a contender. We get a little closer if we do the Harden trade. Will's not concerned about health. So yeah, that's fair.
It's a good question because it's interesting.
We should revisit it. Yeah.
That we all think this roster is definitely better than last season. And that was a roster we said was a championship contender, and Vegas said was one of, if not the favorite. And now everyone's down on the Clippers because of health concerns and just the track record of guys getting banged up and guys getting hurt over and over again. Health is dependent.
And just the way the West has changed too. I mean, the hierarchy of the West looks different than it did than it did even last season.
And what you said about things change quickly in the NBA, my mind immediately went to, who was the last team to win 2 straight championships? It was the Golden State Warriors. So we're talking about 2018, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It'll be 6 in 2024. So
a team constructed.
People always say when a team wins, you go, okay, can they be a dynasty? How many can they win now? And you get ahead of yourself going down that road, and you ignore how lucky and how fortunate that team was throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, to eventually to become champions.
Yeah. I hope that the Clippers have to answer the question, when are you going to win more? Hopefully that happens this season. Last question. Whiskey Jack asks, do you guys play fantasy basketball? If so, how are your teams looking? I'll kick this one over to Adam, our fantasy basketball expert. How's your team looking?
I play fantasy Power Rangers right now on my team. I got Goldar with Green Ranger.
How does that work?
I was able to get Lord Zed off the waiver wire. Rita Repulsa is coming off my bench. And I got Billy the Blue Ranger and his Triceratops too. No, I haven't played.
You don't play fantasy?
I used to play fantasy back in the day. Now it was just, I do love the system in the NBA.
The head-to-head, the category
dead,
stuff.
baby. Yeah, you play someone over an entire week, win 10 categories. So
yeah.
it's not all or nothing like it typically is in football in that system where you're either 1-0 or 0-1. You could be 6-4. You could win that week 7-3. You're going to win some categories. So I think it's a better system, but I don't.
There's so many games too. MLB baseball fan is the same way. With so many games, it's like, yeah. Will, you're do you do fantasy basketball?
I can barely be bothered to set my fantasy football lineup one time per week. So I do not. I
don't do it because I don't want to pay attention to other teams. I only watch the Clippers. You know what I mean? Like I watch 82 Clippers games.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's also a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit tough.
I don't care about the Eastern Conference. Not, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't need to follow it. My immediate worries are very
what's
close
going on
home.
in Philly. We didn't do a whole segment on that.
I'm talking about on the court. Thank you for the questions. Didn't get a bunch this week, but hey, it's the preseason and everyone's biting their nails about James Harden. Coming up, we are going to talk Clippers marketing, which is something that I want to talk about. This is the only time I'm probably going to talk about it this season. I make the breakdowns, so I put this in there this week. Ads are coming up. We got to keep the lights on. If they've been loud for you, go ahead and turn it down. We got ads coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. Clips and Dip, episode 14 of season 2. Last night, if you missed it, Charles Mockler came on post game with me on AM 570. Do a little bit of a Clippers talk or Clippers locker room. Charles did a great job, I got to say.
I'm kidding.
You guys were doing some locker room talk?
We were not doing that. No. Again, on court.
But here's some interesting. I'm looking at this rundown right now. Here are some interesting questions, guys. Like, why is the Clipper organization going back to give no quarter? Now, is it just being used in the preseason? Nope. Could they have a different slogan once the regular season starts? Why can't they?
I just don't think they do.
The stadium's set up for give no quarter. Everything is up. If they change it, that would be great. But I also think there's a new arena opening next year. So part of the reason we're getting it, which is not a bad reason. The slogan is bad, but why we're getting it is not bad. There's a whole new thing coming next year. I would hope and assume. But that's why they're doing it. Should they have changed it? They sent out a survey. I'm glad they didn't change it to something like one of a kind, and we've got 3. But it's such a bad slogan. It gets roasted all the time.
How do you interpret it, though, Chuck? Maybe you're misinterpreting things.
It doesn't matter. Everyone interprets it as, oh, well, you lost a quarter, so your slogan's stupid. That's what people think, because you can quantifiably say they lose quarters. They lose a lot of quarters. And last year was not a fun year with this thing. So that is back for this year. If you were wondering if they were using the same slogan, as of 6:31 p.m. on October 18th, give no quarter is up in the arena. And I don't think it gets changed by next Wednesday.
I think this year they're giving no quarter, though.
I would love that. If the Clippers win every quarter, I will give every listener of this podcast
a quarter.
A quarter. I'll give everyone who listens to this podcast a quarter if the Clippers don't lose a quarter.
Should we start a show quarter jar this year?
Oh, yeah. What do we got to put a quarter in for?
Every time the Clippers win a quarter, we'll put a quarter in the jar.
That's not a bad idea, Will.
Yeah, and then let's spend the money on ourselves.
The quarter.
Yeah, we'll figure out how to spend it. Maybe we'll take some input from the folks out there.
All right, hold on. Let me write this down. We have so many good ideas. We never write them down.
Maybe you guys can save up and buy a hat like this.
That hat wasn't free?
Yeah, I thought that was a giveaway for sure.
That was
it was like $40 after shipping, I think.
You got it shipped? You can
Worth
find it in LA? All right, the other thing marketing-wise, which we haven't I've been obsessed with this way too much. The City Edition jerseys have supposedly leaked. We don't know if this is the official City Edition jersey.
Chuck's been losing sleep over this.
That being said, If
Kobe
these
Brown move over, City Edition jerseys are on Chuck's mind.
Oh, I'm way more worried about this. That being said, if these are not the City Edition jerseys, this is one of the most high concept fake jerseys of all time. If you've seen the photo, we got a question from Adam Stillwell about this. Shout out Stilly. He said, "Is this City jersey leak for real? If so, how we feeling? Would it help to add a little in dip right above the number?" So it
absolutely would.
It absolutely would. The jersey is a dark kind of navy blue. Some say reminiscent of the Wizards jerseys back in the day. It says Clips with a basketball for the eye, white lettering. Some people may have seen the shorts that say LA. They also have 2 basketballs in the A. Nothing officially announced yet. Seemingly, it had some design input or was designed by an artist named Jonas Wood. He's a contemporary artist from Boston. He's located here in LA. He has season tickets to the Clippers. So he is, on some level, a fan of the Los Angeles Clippers. He has described his work as with one foot in modernist cool and the other in vibrant pop art. His artwork is very cool. I like it. Like pop arty. Very cool art. For an art setting, I absolutely love what Jonas Wood does. This inspiration seems to be from his Clippings series, if you're following here, where he makes like he has art that looks like pressed flowers, which is why on the tag you'll see the blue and white flower and everything like that with the basketballs above the tag. So let's call it 85% sure Jonas Wood had this design input. Again, if this is a fake jersey, kudos to whoever made this fake jersey.
Yeah, the details are pretty legit.
Details are real.
Can you all see this?
That being said, fan reaction has been mixed, to say the best. The knocks being, people think it looks like the Wizards jersey, mostly because I think they're just using a basketball above the eye, which is exactly what the Wizards did. Well, kind of. They use like a half basketball. And it's the same kind of color blue. So people, and it doesn't say Clippers, things like that. Where are we at? Also, I'm assuming you both have seen this.
I did. Did it? I was just trying to screen share it. Did that work or no?
It did not work.
I think it did.
Okay.
Anyway,
let us know on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast if it worked. Adam, I can
seeing things.
Pull it up if you need it. Will, where are you at on these?
Let me see again if it works.
No details have been released yet. So this is
like me using the sound from my phone and being lambasted for it, rightfully so.
Lambasted?
Yeah, that.
But this has real research. I've spent countless hours when I should be working figuring this thing out. But where are we at on the design? What do you think of the design? Like, disregard what the fans think. Do you like it?
I think it's decent. I don't like it as much as the light blue San Diego throwbacks we saw, 2 seasons ago now.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Buffalo
those.
Gray. I mean, this is low on my list.
I'm a big fan of the San Andreas white and black jerseys. And if those were their official home and away jerseys, I would be all for it.
These are not my favorite. They're not something... I can see how a fan who maybe isn't super into the Clippers would like these jerseys. That's not a knock on fans, that are maybe not super into the Clippers. Like, because it's got a 90s cut to it. It's got a 90s look to the design.
What does it have to do with the Clippers?
That's my next point. Because the jerseys last year, the City Edition jerseys last year were some of the coolest City Edition jerseys any team has ever done. The connection.
Which one were those? Will, can you put it up?
The Drew one. Got his ass. The Drew League jerseys.
You guys are gonna look real fucking stupid.
The Drew League jerseys that the Clippers had last year were some of the coolest, most locally focused.
Solid.
They were great. The message was awesome. It was a whole collab with the Drew League, which is such a big part of basketball culture in Southern California basketball culture as well.
That was the multicolor lettering, right?
Yeah, with the mosaic, like from the Watts towers. These, I'm saving my full judgment until I see the backstory. Until the backstory.
The shorts. What about the shorts,
Chuck? Oh, I've seen
it could change everything.
I do not like the shorts.
The shorts are out too?
The shorts are out. The shorts leaked first. And then the jersey leaked a couple days ago. And my life has never been the same.
And we still don't know.
No, not
if these
officially.
are them.
No, absolutely. It's a caveat. I'm saying if these are real.
With what AI can do nowadays, I mean, I've seen some
Oh,
wild
you're one
stuff
of
on the
these
internet.
All right, let's not
recently.
do this.
We're not doing this. Think
You guys
AI
are-
made these? What do you think AI is? What do you think AI is?
It's a movie with Haley Joel Osment,
That
and
is true.
it's
Pretty
an
good
underrated
movie.
Spielberg flick.
It's a pretty good movie. But anyway, I'm waiting for the story to really hold off any firm judgments, just because last year's were so good.
What type of story would it take?
A really
to
good one.
Swing your opinion.
A really, really good one is all I'll say, because I have no idea.
Some touching, heartfelt story about these jerseys. And
Not
how
a touching story. I'm also interested to see what the secondary stuff is, like the hoodies and the t-shirts and stuff like that, because I'm assuming going to be kind of a whole line.
I'm kind of interested just by the fact it says Clips.
Right.
Just that. That does pique my interest a little bit. That's different. That's fun.
It is different.
And I would love it if somebody photoshopped or used AI to put in dip
Don't use AI
on one of those and send it to us at Clippers Pod.
It is there's a little bit of funness to it. The basketballs on the tag are multicolored. Also, check out Jonas Wood's art. His art is very cool. He's a very successful artist. But his basketball stuff is cool and things like that. But yeah, Clippers marketing, not taking a big swing with the slogan. I would say took a very big swing with the jerseys, which I do respect. They're trying some weird shit, or Nike just did this on their own. I don't know, but
so you work in this field, hence the heavy interest
even
in this
that,
part.
I'm sure. Yeah, let's chalk it up to that.
Well, I'm just wondering, Chuck. I mean, where's your jersey? Show us something. Give some ideas. Where's your mantra for this season?
I'm not a graphic designer. Also, the best City Edition jerseys concept are by Eric Bui, the In and Out concept.
Oh, incredible.
Which KTLA also talked about. No, my slogan would be, here's a couple quarters. We're going to take most of them. It's really long, but it's logical. LA our way is not bad. That's not a bad slogan. That's a solid team slogan. It's unique to the Clippers. Streetlights over spotlights.
Bad.
Due to injuries was bad. Great in theory. Backfired, but great in theory. It's not like they've been horrible. Give no quarters just particularly a low point.
I think in 2016, 2017, it takes everything. I didn't mind that.
It's
like not bad.
That's the thing, it's generic. You can't factually.
Why isn't it just all hands on deck? Come on.
That's pretty.
Can we just have one thing Clippers related?
Like the
have one nautical thing.
When guys are missing during the year, that logo's
scurvy. He got scurvy. True. That's what happened. From the Clippers ship. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Adam? You want to throw some more shots at people's weight or anything like that before we get out of here? The Clippers play
pure sarcasm because of how svelte you are. You're a thin guy.
The Clippers play tomorrow, Thursday. Adam, you're going to be in the building, right?
Are you guys coming again?
I will not be there. I'm exhausted. I will be watching on TV, but I am very tired.
Oh, Thursday? Yeah, that's it. Oh, that's tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be there.
I had a real excuse. I'm tired.
Yeah. Will post game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Man, we just have Clippers fans covered everywhere. Radio, YouTube, Spotify, Deezer, all those places.
Like Will said, we're everyone's favorite podcast for the Clippers.
Yes, he said it twice, which was awesome.
Well, it's your favorite Clippers podcaster's favorite Clippers podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So this episode, we've said we're getting the quarter jar, and someone needs to Photoshop a Clips and Dip City Edition jersey. We would love that. That'd be a fun time. Those are your
assignments.
Those are your assignments I get. Well, one of them's ours. But yeah, we'll be back next Wednesday. Adam and Will got you covered over on AM 570. Basketball is back next Wednesday. We'll probably do a preview episode before that. Clipper season is here. It's basically here. Adam, as we do every episode, and you seemingly don't really like doing it, would you like to send the listeners off with something positive to think about?
We had Carlo Jimenez on the last big YouTube show here.
Great job on the call.
highly recommend checking him out on AM 570. He's doing a fantastic job. He's out there weaving in, Terrence Mann's Skechers sneakers and how he can't wait to get a pair of those. Like, he goes deep with it on the broadcast. He is entrenched with the Clippers. He has a ton of knowledge on the game, and it's a great call. So I want people to check out Carlo Jimenez and check out the podcast we did with him last week to find out more about your new radio broadcaster.
Yeah, he had his first home game last night. So congrats to Carlo, too.
Congrats to Carlo. Better suit than Adam, just for the record, so everyone knows. But that about wraps everything up for us. Check us out. This guy. So you put the green Power Ranger on some people on the hat on them, and they don't know how to. The power is too much. We'll be back.
Didn't he have a ponytail? You have a ponytail vibe right now, Adam.
Tommy the Green Ranger, he did have a ponytail.
We gotta get out of here.
He also killed himself last year, and it was sad.
Jesus!
Oh, Jesus! Come on!
Get that out.
That helped. Why do you think I got the hat? If you guys want to make fun of this,
you didn't tell us that. You didn't tell us that. We'll be back next Tuesday with a preview. It's not common knowledge. We'll be back.
I didn't know that it happened. I just didn't think we were going to talk about it on the podcast.
We will be back next week with a game preview for you. Clippers, their home opener. So excited. It's against Portland, which we could have had Scoot. Who knows? Anyway, as always, let's go Clips.
Love you, Tommy.